I think one of the greatest tragedies in the history of Batman and in the history of superhero movies is that Batman Mask of the Phantasm bombed the box office. It isn't just because it's a masterpiece in animation and isn't remembered the way it deserves to be, but also because this should have paved the way for other superhero animated features to be released theatrically, and that didn't happen. Now that Bruce Timm has produced a number of animated features, though all the others have been video releases, it's debatable whether Mask of the Phantasm is the greatest of all of them, but it's definitely up there. for several blocks, and no matter what he does, he can't get away from them, even with a clever deception involving a wooden decoy and his cape attached. But they were on a roof. Where did she go? And couldn't Batman just use this trick too? Just throw a smoke bomb and disappear? This chase scene is fantastically gripping, but it's a little weird to think that Andrea Beaumont is better at disappearing than Batman. She does this several other times, and I find it a little bit difficult to swallow. There's one other psych out to keep us from guessing the phantasms, and that is the use of these flashbacks. Again, the film is preying on our expectations. Andrea returning to Gotham looks like an unrelated subplot, which is related to the flashbacks, and perhaps that's all loosely connected to the phantasm plot, simply because we're taking a look at why Bruce is Batman. But of course, it ends up all being one intricately woven story. This is not only expert storytelling, but it's also really good for the Batman mythos. The movie is adding dimension to Batman by showing us how human he is, that while he's committed to the promise he made to his parents, he's also a man with feelings. After he starts to get serious with Andrea, he goes to the cemetery to speak to his parents. He begs them to understand, to let him out of the promise he made them. Things are different now, he says, but it's obvious he can't even convince himself. I need it to be different now. It doesn't hurt so bad anymore. And this is the line that really sticks with me. I didn't count on being happy. It becomes evident as events unfold that Bruce can't escape his destiny, and I love how vague and open to interpretation this is. Is Bruce really fated to sacrifice his own happiness, or will something inside him not let go, so he's seeing fate when it isn't really there? There are convenient thunder clashes while he's begging his parents, making it seem like a sign that they're angry that he's turned his back on them, and a huge group of bats fly up from the ground at the very moment he proposes to Andrea. These things seem unlikely, of course, but still, they may just be coincidences and Bruce might be reading too much into them. But it isn't until Andrea leaves him that Bruce commits to becoming Batman, giving up his life altogether and submitting to a life of vengeance. At first, it seemed to me that if Andrea had stayed, Bruce would have forgotten all about his vow and he would have been happy. But I think the point here is that Bruce Wayne can never truly be happy. What if Andrea had stayed and they had gotten married? I think it still would have ended in tragedy. Bruce would have seen more signs like the bats, and people would have gotten hurt whom he could have helped. I'd expect the first time the Joker killed someone, he'd blame himself because he could have been there, and ultimately he would have left Andrea and become Batman anyway. But Batman is made more alive here than I think he ever had been previously, especially on screen. In some ways I see this as Batman Begins before Batman Begins. We see him struggle in his first outings as a crime fighter, not sure exactly what he's doing. We see him frustrated, trying to figure out how to make criminals fear him. And it's really fun to see the beginnings of the familiar tools Batman uses, like the car at the City of the Future amusement park that he apparently bases the Batmobile on. One of the best scenes in the film is when he puts his mask on for the first time and Alfred is genuinely frightened. Is Alfred scared of what Batman looks like, or is he afraid for his friend, the man he has raised since he was a boy, and what he has become? Mask of the Phantasm takes the traditional superhero love story and turns it on its head. Andrea is never the damsel in distress Bruce has to save. She's a strong, independent woman who can take care of herself, and that's established early in a flashback where Bruce is practicing martial arts, and we find that she has been too. By the way, it's also smart that that's placed there, so that when we discover she's the Phantasm, we buy that she has these kinds of skills. Unlike a lot of live-action superhero movies, the love story isn't just a tacked-on attempt to bring other demographics into the audience. This is the story. Thematically, everything this movie is trying to accomplish is in this relationship. When Bruce and Andrea begin getting serious, the main conflict is that Bruce has to decide what is most important, his vengeance or his happiness. I hadn't really thought about this before, but on this viewing, it cut like a knife when Bruce first meets Andrea's father, and Beaumont tells him that nothing is more important than family. Here, Bruce is struggling between the importance of his family and the family he wants to have, and sacrifices will be made with either decision. I like that Andrea discovers Bruce is Batman just after she arrives in Gotham. His secret shouldn't be a main source of conflict as it often is with a couple in a superhero movie, because she knows about the vow he made to his parents. This really shouldn't be that great of a shock to her. I do have to question Batman visiting his parents' grave in costume, though. If he was spotted there too many times, people might start to suspect that he's Bruce, and that's exactly how Andrea figures it out, too. She sees him in costume next to their grave, and of course puts two and two together. When it's revealed that Andrea is the Phantasm, a dichotomy is created. Bruce and Andrea on many levels are the same. Though she accuses him earlier in the movie of being controlled by his parents, she's doing the same thing. Both of them want to be together, but both have chosen to put their own happiness aside for something they believe in, something they think is greater. But the haunting thing is that both have chosen vengeance. One just hasn't crossed the line the other has. Now that her father has been murdered by the mob, Andrea has made a vow, like Bruce did. She won't rest until her father has been avenged. But she has much clearer targets than Bruce does. One man killed Bruce's parents, and though I don't think the series ever tells us exactly what happened to him, he isn't around anymore, and Bruce's vengeance extends to anyone who preys on the innocent. But several people had a hand in Beaumont's murder. Batman asks Andrea, "What will vengeance solve?" And she responds with, "If anyone can answer that question, it's you." If Andrea were to take out every person she feels had a hand in her father's murder, I wonder if it would be enough, or would she go on feeling compelled to go up against anyone like them, just as Bruce does? It's as if she was so influenced by him that once her father was taken from her, she understood what Bruce was feeling, and she felt it too. She almost blames him for helping her become who she is with this line. I like that Batman tells her to leave and doesn't immediately take her in. And I don't think that's just because he still loves her. I think he realizes that there isn't a long road between who he is and who she is. Of course, they could never be together. The difference is that the Phantasm is about revenge and Batman is about protecting people. There's just the line that Batman won't cross that she has. When she disappears with the Joker toward the end, I wish it had been left a little more ambiguous as to what happened to her. We see her one last time on a boat at the end, and I kind of wish that scene had been left out for a couple of reasons. First, Bruce finds her locket in the Batcave, and that would have served just as well to tell us she was still alive. And secondly, what the heck happened to the Joker? Did she kill him? Obviously not, since he shows up back again in the series. I don't think she'd stop until he was dead. And now we get to the Joker himself. I'll mention this briefly. The Joker doesn't appear until halfway through the film. The first time seeing it, it's pretty awesome when he shows up, because with a new villain like the Phantasm and few familiar faces beyond Gordon and Bullock, there's no reason to suspect we'll see any regular villains in this. He isn't just here because people like to see the Joker. He's made an integral part of the main story by being revealed as one of the mob thugs who had a hand in Beaumont's death. He's worried the Phantasm is going to come after him, which is why he gets involved. I know a lot of fans like the Joker's origin to stay more mysterious, and I generally agree, but it works well for the sake of this film, not comparing it to the rest of the animated series. I like that there's a payoff for the flashback scenes in the city of the future, with the Joker using the park as his hideout, and the Joker makes things more personal for Batman. Because not only is he the epitome of what Batman fights against, but here he's directly responsible for helping to destroy the one thing that might have made Bruce Wayne happy. But he's gotta hate the Joker more now that he knows who he is. I love that the ending culminates in a giant fight between him and Batman, just as it should be. Sure, he isn't the big villain for the movie, but the Joker represents the threat that both he and Andrea live to fight against, and the thing that has destroyed the lives they wanted. I appreciate that the animation wasn't amped up too greatly much, just because this was a theatrical movie. The animation was perfectly cinematic just the way it was. Though the city animation in the opening is completely computer generated and it looks great. There are some shots that, like in several early episodes of the series, look like they came right out of Fleischer's Superman cartoons. I've always loved how ambiguous the time period is in this continuity, and with all the mob stuff, it feels even more 40s than it did before. And it's cool that the city of the future looks a little like the Jetsons, not really futuristic, but how we imagine the future in the past. I never talk enough about score. Shirley Walker's music is brilliant. This was some of her favorite of her own work, and I tend to agree. It wasn't a stretch to take this series to the big screen because it already had a cinematic orchestral score in every episode. The main titles take the Batman theme and add operatic vocals to make it sound more gothic and haunting than it had before. And a fun little tidbit, if you've ever wondered what the lyrics are, whether they're in Latin or something, they're actually some of the names of some of the production crew spelled backwards. The score helps make the piece feel more timeless, and it also accentuates the drama, which all good scores should do. Mask of the Phantasm allows us to learn about the psychology of Batman while Batman learns something about himself. And through Andrea, we see what could have happened to Batman were he to allow himself to go over the edge. I give it a 4 out of 4.